Commander Valentino J. stared at the sensor readout, his weathered face illuminated by the blue glow of the bridge displays. The anomaly shouldn't exist, a spatial distortion bearing the unmistakable frequency signature of an Earth vessel. But from a region of space where no human craft had any business being. "Magnify, Lieutenant Korovin," he ordered. The main viewer shifted, revealing a ship silhouette that caused a collective gasp across the bridge of the EFS Intrepid. It was the Odysseus, the legendary deep space exploration vessel that had vanished. Without a trace, 17 years ago during humanity's first attempt to breach the Cassiopeia boundary. "Impossible," whispered Science Officer Vashti Okafor. "The Odysseus was declared lost with all hands." "And yet, there she is," Jay replied, rising from his command chair. "Scan for life signs." "Detecting multiple human biosignatures, Commander," reported Korovin. "But," she frowned, adjusting her instruments, "there's something else. Energy readings unlike anything in our database." A hail interrupted the moment of bewilderment. The view screen flickered, revealing a face Jay recognized instantly from historical records. Captain Elara Tremaine, the Odysseus's commander, not a day older than in her last transmission 17 years prior. "This is Captain Tremaine of the Earth science vessel Odysseus. We've experienced some temporal displacement. Request immediate conference with Earth Command." Jay cleared his throat. "Captain Tremaine, this is Commander J of the EFS Intrepid. You've been missing for 17 years. Tremaine's expression didn't change. "For us, Commander, it's been 3 days since departure." "We're dispatching a shuttle to dock with you," Jay said. "Standard quarantine protocols." "Understood, Commander." Tremaine nodded. "But I should warn you, what we've brought back will change everything you think you know about the universe." As the transmission ended, Jay turned to his executive officer. "Assemble a boarding team, full biohazard protocols. I want to know how that ship vanished for nearly 2 decades and returned without aging a day." But it wasn't just the crew's apparent immunity to time that concerned him. It was the strange pulsing glow emanating from the Odysseus hull, a luminescence that seemed to bend the very starlight around it. Whatever the lost ship had encountered in the depths of space, it had fundamentally altered it at an atomic level. "Sir," called out Navigator Polvo, "the anomalous energy signature is increasing. The Odysseus is changing." Before their eyes, sections of the vessel's hull began to shimmer, becoming translucent, then opaque again in rhythmic waves. Material science couldn't explain what they were witnessing. Metal behaving like liquid crystal, yet maintaining structural integrity. "Launch the shuttle," Jay ordered, "and alert Earth Command. Tell them we found the Odysseus, but it's brought something back with it. Something that defies everything we understand about physics." As the shuttle departed, Jay couldn't shake the feeling that humanity stood on the precipice of either its greatest discovery or its most terrible mistake. Dr. Malachi Voss adjusted his hazard suit one final time as the boarding team prepared to enter the Odysseus through its main airlock. The shuttle had docked without incident, but the proximity sensors were going haywire, detecting exotic particles that shouldn't exist in this dimension. "Remember," Lieutenant Korovin said, checking her sidearm, "standard quarantine protocols. We don't touch anything without scanning it first." The airlock cycled open, revealing a corridor that both was and wasn't what they expected. The basic structure was standard Earthfleet design, but the walls glimmered with an opalescent sheen that shifted colors as they moved past. "The hull material has been somehow transformed," Voss murmured, running a scanner over the bulkhead. "It's still titanium alloy at its core, but the molecular structure has been rearranged into something I've never seen before." They proceeded deeper into the ship, encountering no resistance. The air was breathable, radiation levels normal, but gravity seemed to fluctuate subtly as they walked, as if the ship couldn't quite decide which laws of physics to obey. In the main laboratory, they found Captain Tremaine and her senior staff gathered around what appeared to be a hovering sphere of liquid metal, approximately 2 meters in diameter. "Welcome aboard," Tremaine said, her voice eerily calm. "I apologize for not meeting you at the airlock. We're still acclimating." Korovin studied the captain intently. "You realize you've been missing for 17 years? "So we've been told," replied Tremaine. "For us, it's been 3 days of subjective time. But what we've learned in those 3 days," she gestured to the floating sphere, "this is what we call the architect." "What is it?" Voss asked, his scientific curiosity overwhelming his caution. "Not what, Doctor?" "Who?" corrected Tremaine. "The architect is a consciousness, a fragment of a technologically advanced species that exists beyond the Cassiopeia boundary. They exist in dimensions beyond our comprehension, and this is merely an interface they created to communicate with us." The sphere pulsed, sending ripples across its surface. "It's speaking to you?" Korovin asked, hand instinctively moving toward. "A weapon, not in words," explained Chief Science Officer Dayu Kilanto, stepping forward. "In concepts, ideas. It rewrote our ship's molecular structure to demonstrate its capabilities. It wants to help humanity evolve." "By what right?" demanded Korovin. "By the right of cosmic perspective," Tremaine answered. "The architect species has existed for billions of years. They've watched countless civilizations rise and fall. They believe humanity has potential, but only if we transcend our current technological limitations." Voss stepped closer to the sphere, entranced. "And this exchange of knowledge, was it voluntary?" A silence fell over the Odysseus crew. "We didn't understand what was happening at first," Tremaine finally said. "The architect pulled us through a fold in space-time. By the time we realized what was occurring, the process had already begun. Our ship, our bodies, they've been altered at the quantum level." "You've been changed?" Korovin asked sharply. "Enhanced," corrected Kilanto. "We can perceive aspects of reality previously invisible to us, and the architect has given us technology that will revolutionize human civilization, or destroy it." Korovin countered. The sphere pulsed again, more intensely this time, and for a brief moment Voss thought he could see something moving within it. Geometric patterns that seemed to extend infinitely inward, a recursive fractal that his mind couldn't fully process. "It wants to meet you," Tremaine said quietly. "All of you. It wants to offer humanity a choice." Admiral Octavia Reeves studied the holographic projection of the Odysseus in the war room of Earth Defense Command. Representatives from every major Earth nation and colony surrounded the table, faces tense with a mixture of fear and anticipation. "So what you're telling me," she addressed Commander J through the quantum-linked communication array, "is that this alien entity, this architect, has not only returned our lost ship, but has fundamentally altered both the vessel and its crew." "That's correct, Admiral," J replied. "According to Captain Tremaine, the alterations are gifts, technological advancements, centuries beyond our current capabilities." "And we're meant to believe this entity is benevolent?" General Casimir interjected skeptically. Dr. Voss appeared beside Jay in the projection. "Admiral, the architect has already demonstrated technologies that violate our understanding of physics. The Odysseus's hull now contains what I can only describe as programmable matter, material that can reconfigure its molecular structure on command." "And you're certain it's not a weapon?" Reeve asked. "If it wanted to destroy us, Admiral, it could have done so already," Jay replied. "The energy readings we're detecting from the Odysseus suggest capabilities that would make our most advanced weapons look like stone axes." The war room fell silent as the implications sank in. "There's more," Voss continued. "The architect has offered us what it calls a nexus key, a device that would allow humanity to access a network of spatial tunnels connecting distant parts of the galaxy. Instant travel between star systems. The architect claims other species have received similar gifts," added Jay. "It sees itself as a gardener of sorts, cultivating promising civilizations." Reeves' expression hardened. "And the price for these gifts?" "That's just it," said Voss. "There isn't one, at least not in terms we would recognize. The architect exists on a different timescale, a different dimensional plane. It describes itself as collecting experiential diversity. Essentially, it values the unique perspectives that different species bring to the universe." "It wants to watch us grow," Jay translated, "and it's offering to help." The projection flickered, and suddenly a new figure appeared, Dr. Kilanto from the Odysseus. Her presence was striking. She seemed to glow subtly, her movements fluid yet somehow inhuman. "Admiral Reeve," she began, "I understand your hesitation, but what the architect offers transcends mere technology. It offers understanding of ourselves, of the cosmos. I've glimpsed it, and I can tell you it's beautiful beyond words." "And if we refuse," asked Reeve, "then the architect will return to the boundary," Kilanto replied simply. "It doesn't force its gifts on any species. But know this, we are not alone in the galaxy, and not all species out there are as patient or benevolent." The hologram shifted, again showing the sphere, the architect's interface. It pulsed gently, sending waves of light rippling across the war room. "It wishes to communicate directly," Kilanto explained. Before anyone could object, the sphere expanded, enveloping the projection in a cascade of impossible geometries. Every person in the room felt a presence touch their mind, not invasive, but inviting, like a door being gently opened. And through that door came understanding, not in words, but in concepts that unfurled in their consciousness like blossoming flowers. "We are ancient," the concept seemed to say. "We have watched galaxies form and die. We offer not dominion but partnership, a place in the greater community of sentient beings." When the presence withdrew, Admiral Reeve found herself gripping the edge of the table, tears streaming down her face. "Admiral?" General Casimir asked, concerned. "I saw it," she whispered. "A network of civilizations spanning the galaxy, knowledge exchange, mutual protection." She looked up, eyes clear with purpose. "We need to accept this gift. In the 6 months since Earth accepted the architect's gifts, humanity underwent changes more profound than the Industrial Revolution, the digital age, and the space expansion combined. The Nexus Key, installed in Earth orbit, created the first stable wormhole to Alpha Centauri, reducing a journey of years to mere minutes. Colonial expansion exploded overnight, with settlements springing up on previously inaccessible worlds, but not everyone embraced the gifts with open arms. "We're moving too fast," argued Director Pelosi of the Earth Preservation Front. "These technologies haven't been properly tested. We don't understand the long-term implications." Across Earth and its colonies, protests erupted. Religious groups claimed the architect threatened humanity's spiritual identity. Nationalists feared the loss of human independence. Scientists worried about unforeseen consequences of implementing technologies they barely understood. Meanwhile, the crew of the Odysseus continued to change. Their enhanced perceptions expanded, allowing them to see energy fields, detect quantum fluctuations, and communicate with each other through what they called resonance, a form of non-verbal information exchange that transcended language. "Captain," Tremaine and her crew became humanity's interpreters, explaining the architect's gifts and helping implement the new technologies. But with each passing day they seemed less human, their physical forms remaining unchanged, while their minds evolved beyond conventional understanding. Aboard the research station Prometheus, orbiting Jupiter, Dr. Voss studied samples of the transformed hull material from the Odysseus. "The applications are limitless," he explained to Admiral Reeve during her inspection tour. "Self-repairing spacecraft, buildings that adapt to environmental conditions, medical implants that integrate perfectly with the body." "And the risks?" she asked. "That's the thing, Admiral," Voss replied, his enthusiasm tempering slightly. "The technology responds to intention. Without proper mental discipline, the results can be unpredictable." Unpredictable proved an understatement. When the first augmented humans, volunteers who had received neural interfaces based on the architect's designs, began experiencing hallucinations and erratic behavior, public confidence wavered. The crisis point came when an augmented scientist on Mars lost control of his laboratory's environmental systems. The programmable matter responded to his subconscious fears rather than his conscious commands, creating a cascading failure that nearly breached the colony's atmosphere dome. Earth Defense Command convened an emergency session. The question hung in the air: had humanity accepted these gifts too readily? Captain Tremaine, summoned from the Odysseus to address the council, entered the chamber with an aura of preternatural calm. "The incident on Mars was regrettable," she acknowledged, "but not unexpected. The architect's technologies require a paradigm shift in how we think. They don't just extend our capabilities, they demand we evolve our consciousness to match. And if we can't," demanded General Casimir, "then we have choices to make," Tremaine replied. "We can limit implementation to applications that don't require such evolution, or we can commit to the more difficult path, changing ourselves to meet the technology." "That sounds dangerously like suggesting we should become something other than human," Pelosi objected. Tremaine smiled enigmatically. "What is human, Director? Our species has been constantly evolving, both biologically and culturally. The question isn't whether we'll change, it's whether we'll direct that change consciously." As the debate raged, an alert sounded. The Deep Space Monitoring Network had detected multiple unknown vessels approaching from beyond the heliopause. Ships of clearly alien design, moving at speeds thought impossible. "It seems," Admiral Reeves said gravely, "that the architect was right about one thing. We are not alone in this galaxy. And now," added Tremaine, "we must decide if we're ready to meet our neighbors." The alien fleet maintained position just beyond Neptune's orbit, 7 vessels of crystalline construction that defied traditional scanning methods. Their message, transmitted across all frequencies, was simple: surrender the Nexus key. Admiral Reeve convened an emergency meeting in the Lunar Command Center, gathering Earth's leadership, the Odysseus crew, and representatives from the newly established colonies. "They call themselves the Concordat," Captain Tremaine explained. "The architect warned us about them, a collection of species that hoard advanced technology, preventing what they see as destabilizing expansion by emerging civilizations." "Can we fight them?" General Casimir asked, studying the tactical displays. Dr. Kilanto shook her head. "Their technology is centuries beyond our conventional weapons. Even with the architect's gifts, we've barely scratched the surface of what's possible." "Then we surrender the key," suggested Director Pelosi. "Preserve what we have rather than risk everything." "If we surrender the key," Tremaine countered, "we surrender our future. The Concordat doesn't just want the key. They want to ensure we remain confined to our solar system permanently." Admiral Reeve stood, her decision evident in her bearing. "We won't surrender, but neither will we fight a war we cannot win." "There must be another solution," All eyes turned to the holographic representation of the architect's sphere, which had remained silent throughout the exchange. "The architect has given us the tools," Tremaine said finally. "But it's our choice how to use them. What we've seen as separate technologies, the programmable matter, the neural interfaces, the spatial manipulation, they're all aspects of a single, unified science. A science based on the fundamental connection between consciousness and reality." "You're suggesting we complete the transformation," Voss realized, "fully integrate with the architect's gift." "Not just the Odysseus crew," Tremaine confirmed, "all of us. Voluntary, of course, but the more minds that join, the stronger the effect." The debate was fierce, but with the Concordate's deadline approaching, Earth made its choice. Across the planet and its colonies, millions of volunteers connected to a hastily constructed network based on the architect's neural interface design. In orbit around Earth, the Odysseus, now less a ship than a living entity of programmable matter, served as the focal point for humanity's collective consciousness. The Concordate's ultimatum expired. Their fleet advanced, weapons charged. What happened next would be remembered as the ascension. As the alien vessels crossed Uranus's orbit, they encountered not Earth's defensive fleet, but something else entirely. A shimmering barrier of energy that stretched across the solar system. Behind it stood the Odysseus, transformed beyond recognition, its hull now a fractal pattern of impossible geometries that mirrored the architect's own form. The collective consciousness of humanity, channeled through the ship, didn't fight the Concordate. It transcended the very concept of conflict. The barrier wasn't a weapon, but a demonstration, showing the aliens a glimpse of what the architect had shared with humanity. Communication flowed directly between minds, bypassing the limitations of language. The Concordate experienced humanity's determination, creativity, and compassion. In return, humanity perceived the Concordate's fear of change, of losing control, of the unknown. Understanding bloomed like a supernova. When the connection ended, the Concordate fleet withdrew, not in defeat but in recognition. They had encountered something unprecedented, a young species that had embraced its evolution rather than fearing it. In the aftermath, humanity stood transformed. Not everyone had participated in the ascension, and those who had emerged changed, but still recognizably human. The neural network dissolved, returning individual consciousness while retaining the insights gained through the collective experience. Captain Tremaine addressed the United Earth Council one final time before departing. With the Odysseus, the architect didn't just gift us technology, she explained. It gifted us perspective, the understanding that consciousness itself is the universal constant, the foundation upon which all reality is built. With this knowledge, we can reshape matter, energy, even space and time. "And where will you go now?" asked Admiral Reeve. Tremaine smiled, her eyes reflecting distant stars. "To meet our neighbors properly, to learn from them and share what we've learned. The galaxy is vast, and we are no longer alone." As the Odysseus departed Earth orbit, its form shifting like liquid starlight, it left behind a transformed civilization. Humanity had taken its first steps into a larger universe, not as conquerors or subjects, but as equals among the cosmic community. The ship that had once been lost had returned, bringing with it not just advanced technology, but a profound truth, that humanity's greatest potential lay not in the stars themselves, but in the consciousness that perceived them. And somewhere beyond the Cassiopeia boundary, the entity known as the architect observed, its purpose fulfilled. Another species had joined the tapestry of galactic consciousness, adding their unique perspective to the greatest experiment in the universe, life itself.